The family decided to take THF Bayzoo off life support, man. Bayzoo is gone, man.
THF Bayzoo was known as a true OG in the city, a name that carried weight in the streets. He survived wars, shot at rivals from Iraq, and earned major respect everywhere he went. That's exactly why his murder left everyone stunned. From beefing with some of the most feared hitters in Chicago to dodging death and even beating serious charges, Zoo had lived through chaos most couldn't imagine. But in the end, it wasn't the streets he survived that took it. It was a setup he never saw coming. On October 25th, 2025, Zoo pulled up to a car repair shop with two of his boys in broad daylight. Everything seemed normal until out of nowhere, masked shooters sprinted up on them. Before Zoo could even move, shots started flying from every direction. It's clear the attackers had his drop. They knew exactly where and when to strike. Zoo dropped to the ground as bullets tore through the air, but the shooters didn't stop. They kept blasting until they were sure the hit was done, then peeled off fast. Zoo and the two men he was with all got hit. But tragically, Zoo was the only one who didn't make it out alive. Right after the shooting, the streets lit up with rumors. Some said Zoo was still fighting for his life in the hospital, that he might pull through. But just a day later, the news hit hard. Zoo was gone. According to Trench's News, Zoo had been kept on life support, but doctors allegedly told his family there was no chance he'd wake up. Heartbroken, they made the painful decision to let him go and take him off the machines. The city lost another legend that day, and nobody could believe it happened like this. THF Bayzoo had real love in the city. People from every side showed respect when he passed. Even folks who didn't claim THF were posting tributes, calling him a solid one. Zoo had homies from O Block 600, 300, TTE, and plenty of other sets. His reach went way beyond Chicago too. He connected with people from other cities, and even 21 Savage allegedly stepped up offering to cover the funeral costs. That's how deep his impact ran. But with all that love came heavy hate. After Zoo got killed, the opposition wasted no time flooding social media with disrespectful posts. One dude named FSO started dissing THF Bayzoo right after the news broke, and that's when things got dark fast. Hours later, FSO's girlfriend, Gari, was brutally shot and killed. The streets were talking non-stop. Gari was a rapper herself, and once word spread about her death, wild rumors started flying about who did it and why. People online started saying Gari was the one who dropped Zoo's location to the ops, but that wasn't true. Sources later claimed she had nothing to do with the setup. She allegedly got caught up just because her boyfriend was dissing Zoo. Her death wasn't even about her. Right after she died, her brother jumped on Facebook and said Gari wasn't even the target. That hit everyone hard. Reports say Gari and Fonzo were sitting inside a car when shooters ran down and started spraying the ride. Bullets ripped through the side where Gari was sitting, hitting her instead of Fonzo. She lost her life right there. Fonzo allegedly had ties to 051, one of THF's biggest rival sets, which made things even messier. And right before Gari got killed, Fonzo had been going back and forth online with THF G-Baby. G-Baby warned him straight up, told Fonzo to stop playing with Zoo's name before it backfired. A few hours later, that warning came true in the worst way possible. About a week after Gari was killed, police caught a major break. They spotted the same car allegedly used in the hit. Officers pulled the vehicle over, and reports say 3 dudes were taken into custody for her murder. But here's the twist. No official word has dropped yet on who they actually caught. Everything around this case is still wrapped in mystery. Gari wasn't just connected to Fonzo and the THF beef either. She also had a child with a guy named 757 Ba. And if you know the streets, you know Ba's name carries serious weight. Back in the day, Ba was known for really putting in work. In 2017, a well-known 600-member named McAdoo was allegedly sliding around the city, hunting for 051 members. McAdoo had a wild reputation. People in the trenches used to say he'd caught at least 3 bodies. But when Ba saw him at a party, everything went left fast. Ba allegedly pulled out and started letting shots fly. Both sides returned fire, and chaos broke loose.
Show me my name on the paperwork. Show me who I got arrested, gang.
Bodies.
If y'all can't do that,
by the time
stop going off all these
the
fake
floor
ass
was
niggas
covered
that
in
want to get me
blood.
out the way, man.
7
Niggas
people
want me
were
out the
hit,
way 'cause I'm the
including
realest in
Ba's
Iraq, for
own
real, for real, you hear
homie,
me?
who sadly didn't make it out alive. McAdoo was shot too, but managed to survive. Years later, in 2024, cops finally caught up to Ba and booked him for that same shooting. Gari used to talk about the streets in her tracks too. She wasn't shy about that life. In one song, she rapped, "He ran and he fell, they hopped him, bullets, they hurt, they hit him like chalk 'em. I'll make one phone call, got killers from east to west, ain't no talking." Those lyrics hit different after what happened. But according to people close to her, Gari allegedly wasn't involved in any beef herself. Word around the city is that she got caught in the middle. The shooters were after Fonzo for dissing Zoo, but when they found the car, they ended up hitting her instead. It was a tragic twist in a war that keeps taking lives for no reason. There's still no real proof that THF had anything to do with Gari's death or with Zoo's situation either. By the time THF Bayzoo passed away, he wasn't even deep in the street beefs anymore. But back in his prime, Zoo was known for turning up hard and putting major pressure on his rivals. His story runs deep in Chicago. Street history. Zoo first got active when his family moved into THF territory. He was barely a teenager when the streets pulled him in. Around 13, he caught an armed robbery charge and ended up locked up in juvie for about 5 years. When he finally got out, he didn't waste any time. Zoo hit the ground running and jumped right back into the action. That's when his name really started to ring out across the city. THF was locked in a deadly war with 051, and both sides were heavy with shooters. Their neighborhoods were close, so it didn't take much for things to pop off. Shots were flying back and forth constantly for a few years. That war was one of the most dangerous in all of Chicago. Zoo wasn't active through the whole war, though. In 2009, he allegedly caught a body and had to fight the case for years. But when the case finally got dropped, he celebrated the only way he knew how. King Von and turning his story into music. He spit, "Beat that body. Now the trenches call me Rocky. Shout the members, they my partners. We going high speed. Ain't no pulling over." That song became an anthem in the streets, a message that Zoo had survived the system and made it back stronger than ever. The beef between 051 and THF actually started before most people even knew what the drill scene was. It all kicked off when a dude from 051 named Zico got into it with a THF member named I. And that argument lit the spark for one of Chicago's wildest street wars ever. There's still no solid proof that THF had anything to do with Zoo's death. By the time THF Bayzoo was killed, he had stepped back from the streets, but years earlier, he was one of the hardest names out there. Zoo had a wild story, filled with chaos, respect, and survival. He first got active when his family moved into THF territory. At just 13, he caught an armed robbery case and ended up spending nearly 5 years in juvenile detention. When he finally came home, Zoo hit the streets full force and got caught up in one of Chicago's deadliest beefs, THF versus 051. Bodies were dropping left and right, and the neighborhoods were too close for comfort. For a few years straight, that war was pure madness, one of the most violent eras in the city. Zoo wasn't there for every part of it, though, because in 2009, he allegedly caught a body and had to fight the case for a long time. When the case finally got dropped, Zoo celebrated with King Von by dropping a track called "Beat That Body," where he rapped, "Now the trenches call me Rocky. Shout the members, they my partners. We going high speed, ain't no pulling over." That line became legendary. The 051 and THF beef actually started before the drill scene even took off. It all began when a dude from 051 named Zico got into a heated argument with a THF member named A. Not long after, Zico ended up dead. And that one incident set off years of war. 051 turned up heavy after that. In 2011, they slid on THF and killed a member named Quinn. Then a few months later, another THF member named Tony was taken out. Both sides were losing people back to back. In 2013, Zoo allegedly got tied to another hit, this time involving a woman from 051 named Big A. There aren't many details about what went down, but the story spread fast in the trenches. Big A's brother, known as 051 Ariel, allegedly told police that Zoo admitted to the hit, saying, "On gutter on my son, I whacked her." That line haunted Zoo's name for years. Then, in 2015, tragedy hit Zoo's own family. His stepson, Raheem, who was also repping THF, got caught up in the same deadly cycle. Word on the streets was that Raheem had come close to taking out 051 Melly, one of the most feared names on the other side. But while Zoo was locked up fighting his own case, the opposition caught Raheem and left him dead in the street. That loss hit Zoo hard. When he finally got out, people say he went right back to the streets, fueled by pain and revenge. Then, in 2019, his name popped up again, this time in a major case with King Von and Lil Durk. Reports claim the three were in Atlanta when they allegedly robbed and shot a man. Von and Durk were both charged with attempted murder, and paperwork even listed Zoo as being connected to the situation. It's still unclear what really happened that night, but eventually the case got dropped. The craziest twist, not long after, Zoo went live on Instagram with the very same guy they were accused of shooting. Seeing them face to face online after everything that went down left everyone speechless. Nobody could believe it actually happened. After everything that went down, people online started calling Zoo a rat, but those claims were never proven. THF Bayzoo had always been close with Lil Durk. They were tight, long before Durk blew up and became one of the biggest rappers in the world. Once Durk's fame skyrocketed, Zoo chilled out on the street life, staying more low-key. But when Durk got locked up on that murder-for-hire case, Zoo's situation changed fast. Rumors say money got tight, and he couldn't afford to move out of Chicago, leaving him stuck right in the middle of the tension again. Even though Zoo himself wasn't wilding out like before, some of his THF brothers were still active, and their new beefs might have played a part in his downfall. Word around the city is that it all started when Lil Durk began hanging with a dude from 6300 named Lil Zay Osama. At first, everything was smooth, 6300, and THF weren't beefing, so Zay had no issue being around Durk's THF circle. But things went left when a couple of THF members allegedly stole some expensive watches from Lil Zay. Zay wasn't having it. He went live on Instagram and aired everything out for the world to see. Not long after that, things got deadly. In February 2024, a THF member named TP was brutally killed right in front of his kids. The streets went cold after that. Rumors started spreading that TP was taken out by members of a set called BBC, also known as Bashfield. Now here's where it gets messy. Lil Zay was reportedly cool with a lot of dudes from BBC, so when TP got killed, one of the BBC guys even posted about Zay's missing watches and captioned it like somebody had died over them. That post set everything off again. Not long after, THF allegedly got payback and killed a dude from BBC named Man, but even that story got twisted. Other sources claimed it wasn't THF who did it at all, but a different set called DOD Lil Zay later co-signed that version of events, saying THF was just chasing clout. He even jumped online saying, "People took your baby mama and you still ain't done nothing to your ops. Man was the one who got that get back for that watch, and y'all didn't do it." The drama kept spiraling out of control. Alliances were breaking, sets were turning on each other, and Zoo ended up caught in the middle of it all. Even if he wasn't the one pulling triggers anymore, the streets around him were still on fire. But this situation wasn't as simple as it looked. Things in the streets rarely are. It didn't seem like THF were the ones who caught Man, but word was they were still out there sliding. Not long after, another name got added to the list. A dude from DMG named Lil Deuce was shot and killed. Nobody could say for sure who pulled the trigger, but the rumors spread fast. THFG Baby dropped a diss track about Deuce's death, and that move poured gasoline on the fire. Then right after Zoo got killed, members of DMG started posting scum all over social media, making it seem like Zoo's death was payback for Deuce. The tension between those sets hit a whole new level. Still, nobody really knows who took Zoo out. The streets are full of whispers, and one of the wildest rumors out there claims that someone close to him might have been behind it. Some say his own homie allegedly put a bag on his head. That theory shook everybody because Zoo had been close with Lil Durk for years. They'd been in cases together, made music together, and had real history. But the gossip got darker with people saying Durk supposedly wanted Zoo gone for personal reasons. Back when Zoo caught his first murder case in 2009, paperwork started floating around that supposedly showed he snitched on his homie. Zoo denied it immediately, said it was all fake, and that he never told on anybody. But then, more paperwork surfaced later, claiming Zoo had talked to the ATF. According to those files, THF Bayzoo and King Von had both been questioned by federal agents, and Zoo allegedly described how THF was structured, saying the crew didn't really have a leader anymore and everyone was moving independently. That story blew up online with people calling him out, but Zoo shut it down quick, saying straight up that it was cap, that he never talked to the feds. Even with his denial, the rumors stuck around and the streets started twisting the story in every direction. The mix of betrayal, street politics, and revenge made Zoo's death even more mysterious, and nobody could tell who was really behind the trigger that ended his story. But the opposition wasn't buying Zoo's side of the story. They called him out heavy. Billionaire Black even dropped a diss track throwing shots at him, spitting, "You soft as a snitch. Incognito with a glick. He don't even know that's a switch. Fashion killer. I might smoke him in some ricks, cause that dude working with the ATF tried to call me a snitch." That verse went viral and the whole city was talking. Rumors started spinning out of control again. People began linking Zoo's death to Lil Durk's ongoing murder-for-hire case. Word in the trenches was that there were federal informants involved, and some fans started connecting dots that might not even exist. The theory claimed Durk was trying to clean house and get rid of anyone who might flip or speak on the case, but there's no solid proof behind any of that talk. Still, the whispers kept spreading, making Zoo's story even more twisted. THF Bayzoo had been in the field for years. His name was respected and feared by many. He had enemies all over the city, but also had people who showed him real love. Some said he stayed in Chicago because he couldn't afford to leave after Dirk got locked up, but Zoo wasn't having that. He went online and clapped back, posting stacks of cash to prove he was still getting money. From the looks of it, he could have left the city if he wanted, but he chose to stay in the same streets that built him. Sadly, that decision cost him his life. Zoo was gunned down in broad daylight, shocking everyone who knew how much he'd already survived. The loss hit hard. Fans, friends, and even rivals couldn't believe it ended like that. Not long after, Gary's death was allegedly seen as the first hit for Get Back. But if history tells us anything, that was probably just the start of another round of retaliation. Nobody knows what's coming next, but the streets are watching closely. Because when it comes to Chicago's war stories, the cycle never really stops. If you made it this far, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. Let us know what you think really happened to THF Bayzoo.